round the globe on The Money Show.
If you look at Nigeria and our people, a lot of people actually plan for the year from January up to December.
Independent Television, AIT.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on Focus Nigeria this Thursday morning. My name is Benga Aruleba. The state of security, or put differently, insecurity in the land, how critical? This is the issue we'll be focusing on this morning. We will be benefiting from the deep knowledge of a Nigerian who has served with the United States Army and has deep knowledge of terrorism and how to tackle it. Major Chris Moghalu is a Nigerian, but as I said, he served with the United States Army and took part in the American expedition in places like Iraq. Remember Operation Desert Storm? He performed covert operations in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Germany. He's an ex-member of the U.S. Army anti-bomb squad. He is in Nigeria to offer help to our security agencies in the search for solutions to the security challenges we face, and he will be speaking essentially on preventive measures to help solve terrorism problems in Nigeria. Of course, Major Moghalu will not be alone. Barrister Mike Ejiofor has always been a regular face each time we discuss security or security-related issues here on this program. Barrister Mike Ejiofor was until very recently a director with the State Security Services, SSS. He served in so many states, and today he consults essentially on security issues. Of course, I'm sure you know that the choice of national security for today's discussion is very apt. There has been no let-up in the spate of attacks by insurgents as they have escalated the acts of late, striking at churches and everywhere. And last week, the media became part of their targets with what appeared to be a coordinated attack on the offices of This Day in Jabi, Abuja, and another building in Kaduna housing the offices of 3 newspapers, This Day and The Sun and one other newspaper. The video recording of the Abuja attack on This Day office, posted on the YouTube by the Boko Haram on Tuesday, confirmed that this sect is not just well entrenched, but very sophisticated in its operations and planning. They even go with video cameras to record the operations. With the intensity of the insurgency, and for the fact that they strike at will and indiscriminately as well, making it difficult to really rationalize their demands, how do we stem the trend of what is gradually becoming the Somalinization of Nigeria, to borrow the expression of former Minister of Defense, General T.Y. Danjuma. Indeed, as General Theophilus Danjuma put it 3 days ago, this house is on fire. That is Nigeria. Question is, how do we put out this fire before it consumes all of us? But before the discussions, just some tidbits, and let's start with one that has a direct bearing on what we are discussing this morning. The State Security Services, SSS, recorded yet another major victory in their covert operations against the Boko Haram, as they arrested the man described as the major supplier of the chemical used by the insurgents in bomb making. Ayuba Usman was arrested at his shop in Kano with 35 big drums of highly combustive chemicals and substances used in making bomb and other improvised explosive devices, IEDs. The director of the SSS in Kano State, Basi Eteng, said the arrest of Ayuba was made possible through intelligence reports supplied by the public. Now, kudos, you see, to the SSS on this major haul. We'll be talking more about this shortly when we start the discussions. Okay, we move on to something else. The Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission has commenced the verification exercise for the purpose of a new revenue sharing formula. Everybody agrees that the current formula, which gives the federal government over half of the revenue of the federation, is not heavy and needs changing in favor of the states and the local governments, which are groaning under the burden of their huge responsibilities. Currently, the federal government gets 52.68%, 26.72%, while the local governments share between the 20.60%. During the verification, which will last for about 20 days, officials of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission we examine documents presented by the states and local governments, which will help them determine how much should go to each state and each local government. And don't forget that indices used in determining revenue allocation include population, population density, landmass, terrain, internally generated revenue, and then in the case of oil-bearing states, how many oil wells and where are they located. It's an important exercise, and we promise to track the developments, more so where the Commission has promised to make a recommendation to the President by the second quarter of this year, which has already started. Now, I got this one I'm going to talk about from one of the many interest groups that I belong to. You know, this country belongs to all of us, and if we must improve things, we all have to do more than we are doing and be prepared sometimes to be abused or insulted. But once you know that this is for Nigeria, nothing really should deter you. Here, the concern is about the so many wastages and the leakages in government, which has made it impossible for us to witness appreciable development in our lives. The money is there as an oil-rich state, but we spend it on the wrong things. My attention has just been drawn to the fact that in this year's budget, that's the federal budget, already signed into law by the President, and so it's binding, there are provisions by the different ministries for the purpose of designing a roadmap for the implementation of the Freedom of Information Act. Now, what is this roadmap that these ministries are designing? Now here, as you can see, I have a copy of the guidelines for the implementation and the enforcement of the Freedom of Information Act. You can see it, guidelines on the implementation of the Freedom of Information Act, issued by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Now, already, this, like I was saying, this has already been issued by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. So what other roadmap are these ministries designing? The Office of the Head of Service of the Federation, for example, has a whopping sum of 80 million naira budgeted for this purpose under this year's budget. And by the time you put what each ministry, agencies, and departments has budgeted for this same document that the Attorney General of the Federation has already prepared, is a staggering amount. If the Office of the Head of Service alone has budgeted 80 million naira to produce this same thing that the Office of the Attorney General has produced. Now, somebody please explain to us here the difference between the designs that the Office of the Head of Service or the ministries are talking about that is different from what the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation has already produced for all the ministries. Now, don't tell us that it's not our business, because truth is that it is our business to hold government accountable to the people. Okay, let's just put a stop to all of that here. We'll take a break now to prepare for our discussions this morning, which essentially will be on security.
Budgeting. Questions such as, do we need an NNPC in the first place, must be asked. My view, we don't.
He is the field officer. He has the responsibility to ensure all operations regarding arrest and all that is conducted in the usual manner.
Engaging emerging topical issues in the polity.
The mere fact that we pay for 24 million liters of petrol on a daily basis, which is not, is shocking. And I think now people should be resigning their appointment.
It was to be a business, but it has become another arm of government, and it's also suffering from the malaise that have bedeviled government in Nigeria.
If you're just joining us, the program is Focus Nigeria. Of course, the platform is African Independent Television, and we are reaching you live here this morning. Let me quickly introduce my guest. Barrister Mike Ejiofor is joining us for discussions this morning. Barrister Mike Ejiofor is a former director with the State Security Services, SSS. Like I said, he's a legal practitioner now. While he was in the service, he was in charge in so many states. Abia was the last port of call. He was also in Akwa Ibom. Yes. Aha. Good to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay. The one that you don't know before is the one we are unveiling now. Major Chris Moghalu. He is an ex-U.S. Army military intelligence officer. Like you heard in the introduction, he served in so many places. He served in the War. American War,
Yes.
On Iraq. Ex-member of the U.S. Army anti-bomb squad, supervised and performed intelligence preparation of the battlefield, performed covert operations in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Germany, so many other places. Well, let's start from there. Okay. Yes. What else do we need to know about you? Why are you in Nigeria? Are you retired?
Yes.
Retired?
Absolutely, yes.
Even as a major?
Well, yes. I mean, you when your commission is over, you leave. But
Okay,
if
so
you're allowed to stay in if you want to.
Okay,
for 20
you are
years.
commissioned for a particular length of
Yes,
time?
length of time, yes.
Okay, so you were commissioned for how many years?
Well, I was around for 8 years.
8.
Yes.
During that period, you served in the
Yes.
in Operation Desert Storm.
Yes.
Okay, let's start from there, because we know that even since then, Iraq has not been the same, and even after the war was over,
Yes.
the winning the battle. The war was won, but the battle wasn't won until where maybe of recent that you don't get to hear about bomb explosions in Baghdad and all those places.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. I mean, you asked me why I'm here in Nigeria. Yes. I mean, the president of Nigeria asked us, the professionals in the U.S., to actually come home and help with, help Nigeria. And that's pretty much why I'm here. I'm back home to use my expertise to help with the situation on the ground, security situation on the ground here in Nigeria.
Okay.
So
you are an expert in covert operations. What does that mean?
Well, I'm actually that is more of intelligence.
Okay.
But
intelligence gathering.
But for me, yes, intelligence gathering is my expertise, and also IED training. So I can train people on IED. IEDs, and I can also train on intelligence gathering. So those are the two training areas that I have expertise in, and I hope, if possible, to help, the federal government in those areas.
Okay. Have you had any form of contact at all with our security agencies since you came in?
Not exactly. I'm still new, but I've spoken with, the National Security, the Office of the National Security Advisor. I have also spoken with the police. Okay. So they are pretty much
formally or informally?
Informally.
Okay.
So,
but this you have presented papers since you came.
Well, yes, I was asked to speak on during the security summit that just held here in Abuja, and I just presented a paper on that, and it's all I've pretty much done because I'm still new.
Barrister Ejiofor, in this battle against the insurgents, Nigeria needs to tap into all the resources it can get. In this case, let me say we don't have to pay for it. He's a Nigerian, yes, and he owes this country his services.
Yes.
But really, the point I'm trying to make is that Nigerians and Nigerians in diaspora are in this together.
You are right, Benga. Like I said, fighting terrorism or intelligence gathering, yes, requires collaboration from all.
Yes.
And I must commend Chris for coming back to Nigeria. It's not easy because most of them in the U.S. don't want to come back to Nigeria. So we should thank him and be ready to work with him to the level which is patriotic. Like he said, his patriotism cannot be on empty stomach. So I'm sure he's not rendering his services free.
No, I'm not.
That's understandable. For you to rise to the level of a major in the American army,
except of course,
not easy.
Of course, he's telling us that he's bringing the American patriotism to Nigeria by dying for the country.
Don't ask what your country can do for you,
but what
you can do for your country.
Yeah.
Is that what we are having there?
Absolutely.
Or it's both? Ask for what your country can do for you, then you tell your country what to do for you.
No.
All right, talking seriously here now. Let's start from this very latest development. Now, I was shocked this morning. This arrest by the SSS of this Ayuba Usman. This is a major victory by the SSS. Are you surprised? The SSS has been recording a lot of unreported victories, really.
Exactly.
Bomb factories smashed and all of that. Now, this particular one, this Ayuba Usman, the SSS director in Kano, Basrieten, said this arrest was made possible by the cooperation of the public.
Exactly.
The intelligence report was given by members of the public, and the SSS worked on it, and it yielded this major haul. 35, these drums that you are seeing, 35 of them were found in this man's shop. And from the little investigation that I've made outside of this story, I'm told that each drum of this chemical costs as much as 25 million. Yes. 25 million for a drum. Yeah. And this man was caught with 35. Simply, that's about 800 and something million that we're talking about. Yeah. Now, this is big business. This simply shows that these guys are well funded.
Absolutely.
Let's start from there.
Yeah. You see, each time I appear on some of these programs and solicit the support of members of the public, we're not joking about it. And it shows that members of the public are having confidence in the security agencies. And like you said, it's not everything that is done by the SSS that is reported. Like the stages of planning, you don't expect people to come and say, this is what we are doing. But now that the result is there, people should come out. And it also instills confidence from members of the public that government is serious about tackling this menace. Most times, if the SSS or any of the other security agencies report exactly what they see in the field, it's going to create panic. But like this is a major achievement that they have recorded and the police also are recording some achievements. You see, the issue is, how did you get here? The Boko Haram we are talking of, they're factionalized. You know, it started as a local group, insurgents from Borno, and metamorphosed after the smashing of their gang in 2003, where their leader was allegedly killed extrajudicially. That was what prompted it. And the media, also, we'll come to that. The media does not help in matters. Like in that seminar we attended together, international seminar on terrorism. You see, there are things that should be reported. We should be able to draw a line between national interest and selling of newspapers and making news. Like they say in the media that bad news is good news. It sells. It sells, you know. Yes. And it is. We should also, in terms of our national interest, draw lines. Are you saying that the media has reported more in favor of the insurgents to encourage them? I'm coming to that. Exactly. How do you dare rationalize that with the accusation of the same Boko Haram that the media has underreported them or even misreported them? No, Benga, I will come to that. So where do we go? You remember how Al Jazeera showed the film of how Yusuf was killed. It escalated. These are things that should not be aired. We don't need anybody to tell you you should not show this, you should not show this. But that's an international. So the effect was that we now have international dimension to it. The Akin, Al-Qaeda, feeling that Nigeria is a fertile ground. So, and there's no way terrorists can operate in isolation with her. And that is why fighting it too requires international collaboration, exchange of information, and what have you. Major. Yes, sir. I have read briefly the high points of your paper. Okay. Since. And let's look at, first of all, the first question I asked, which is that these guys are getting refunding. Absolutely. Because I've looked at this guy, I don't know how this guy can be the sole owner of this business if he was caught with this large amount of chemicals in his shop. Yeah. First of all, how did these things get in such that people don't know until this time? Again, who do you think are the founders? Like you have postulated in your paper, yes. Is that a way that terrorists in one country link with terrorists in other climes such that there's a global network of terrorists? Absolutely. Everything is global now. Terrorism is global. And that is more reason why we should take it very seriously. These guys are professionals. They are linking, they are working with other terrorists from the outside. And the borders, we also have to discuss the issue of border security in Nigeria. You talk about how did they, bring it in. Yeah. We're doing a great job, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. So yes, there's a collaboration amongst all the terrorists, and they are very serious people. So we just need to get serious, and that's what I have to say about this one. We need to get serious. We need to get serious. Now let's talk about getting serious. You have talked about the situational analysis that you have done here, that Boko Haram from his operation, yes, and all of that, yes, have similar faces, yes, with Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab. Yes. Yes. From the experience that we've I mean, of course, a lot of things I cannot, express. Without necessarily going to areas. But that is the information we've gathered, that they are actually working with, Al-Shabaab and, Al-Qaeda. Yes. Okay. We should be talking about what we need to do now. What do we really need to do, particularly with the escalation of the crisis now? It's like nothing is spared now. Can we still see this insurgency as something that is poverty-driven or is religious-driven? I don't know whether you watched the video of the attack of this day in Abuja, which was posted to the YouTube. This
watching that video would suggest that here you have a network.
Yes.
The suicide bomber probably has a brief. There are other layers that probably have different briefs. Mr. A is the suicide bomber.
Yeah.
There are other, maybe B and C, whose missions are also different. You monitor A
Absolutely.
to see that A delivers. C monitors B and A to see that A and B deliver on their mission. You could see that that camera that was used in filming that incident was positioned somewhere and was manned by a cameraman whose mission was to film this thing from beginning to end. You saw where the jeep arrived, how the gate was opened, and then seconds how the whole thing went up in flame.
Benga, please, I want to disagree with the analysis of that YouTube photograph.
Okay.
Look at it critically. That thing was simulated.
Really?
Yes. Look at it critically. Because when the building went up in flames, I've watched it.
Yes.
What followed? Did you see the end of that film?
Well, probably the brief of that person was just to see.
There's no way.
See that the thing went up, that the bomb.
There's no way. There's no way they would have stopped at that. They want to see the reaction of the people around there and how they did. Because the thing went up in flame and that was the end of that film. I didn't see vehicles coming in. The only thing that was shown was an area picture of that area.
You saw the jeep when it was
I didn't.
No, that is what
no, I didn't. Listen, Benga.
The one I watched, you saw the jeep as it was driving. You saw it got to these day premises and the gate was open. You could see all of that clearly.
Well.
And seconds after the gate was open,
get to that, there's possibility of filming and driving into that place. But I tell you, the purpose of terrorists is to create fear and panic. So when you have this impression that they are invisible, a lot of people will
that's not the impression I'm getting.
That's the impression that they are so well
that is not just a question of one man driving all the way from Kano on a mission.
If you see how this is the operating network.
That's what I said.
The operating network.
Yes.
They have different networks. But to tell me that somebody will say, stay, where was he filmed from? It's possible they are behind, took the film when the vehicle was driving. But watching that particular building go up in flame, I want to disagree with that. Look at that film again.
Okay. Major, have you watched it? The question really here is not.
It's not whether
the
fact is that the building went up in flames.
Yes.
Or there was detonation there. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
But the purpose of bringing this into YouTube, what is the purpose?
Doesn't that also follow the pattern of terrorists elsewhere that we see? Haven't we seen where Al-Qaeda also filmed their entire operations and posted it in the YouTube?
Well, yes. I mean, during my experience during the war in Iraq, the U.S. Army, we experienced a lot of these issues, and what he's saying is also very correct. But then again,
correct or possible?
It's possible.
Good.
And we don't know yet until it's analyzed to figure out exactly what went on. But for me, coming back to Nigeria, I feel like I just want to target on what we need to do at this point.
The question really is the question is whether we can still sit down and begin to assert that this is poverty-driven or this assumes some religious dimension, because the allegations they made against the media could fall within any of the two categories.
Yes.
One was that the media has been misreporting them.
Yes.
Then the second one had to do with the fact that the media had also joined in demonizing the Islamic religion. So to that extent, can we still say that that the insurgency in the north, which is spreading to other parts of the country, can we still say that it's just purely a poverty-driven thing? In which case, solve the development challenges in the north, and you would have ended the problem.
In my opinion, I think it's one of the problems. Poverty is part of it, but there's also a religious component to that. These people have a belief, a certain type of belief, and they want to instill their belief in Nigeria. So, again, I'll leave the political thing in terms of negotiating with them, to the federal government. But I have my own ideas on how to deal with that. But
let's share your ideas. For example, you are coming from a background where the government refuse that we will not negotiate with terrorists.
Absolutely.
We will not negotiate with terrorists. Yes. Every American president comes,
yes, right
from the very first one up to Obama will tell you this American government will not negotiate with terrorists. But we saw our president at this day, at the state of this day, say government is not completely ruling out negotiation, because really you cannot really pinpoint what the grievances are.
But that's the issue, and that's why we in the U.S. don't negotiate with terrorists. But that in Nigeria, they might have a different, here, I think there's a different situation, and there's a lot of different things in Nigeria to deal with this. So maybe they might feel that they need to negotiate with them. But as far as I'm concerned, I really don't think we should.
From your analysis of the problem,
yes,
you are ruling out negotiation?
Yes, I am. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. You see, in best practices all over the world, you don't negotiate with terrorists. But in our own democracy...
Or at least you are not seen to be negotiating.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now that...
Because when they take hostages, you negotiate, even in America.
The president has come out initially, I think it was last year, offering this carrot and stick approach. You can see that... there's no way the government can be overrun by terrorists. They only cause distraction. And
destruction.
Destruction,
yes.
distraction.
Maybe not all of the time to government as we have seen in Nigeria, but to ordinary citizens.
But what is happening now is that the security agencies have turned the heat on Boko Haram. And the factions, splinter groups, operating different uncoordinated operations, and that's the result. What we are seeing is like the thing is escalating. But I think the government is also winning the war. That is not ruling out the possibility of negotiating. I remember, in fact, 2 days ago, I was reading in the papers Dr. Dati Ahmed that he backed out of the negotiations because of government insincerity, and they were betrayed. I honestly look at Dr. Ahmed. I've had 1 or 2 interactions with him, and I think he loves this country. He's a patriot. He should go back to the drawing board if government is ready to do that, to talk with it, since they have confidence in him and he was nominated. I cannot say categorically if he was nominated or they have confidence in him, but if that is the case and he has complained of government insincerity in handling this, I think I should appeal through this medium that I should go back to the drawing board and talk with government. We need peace in this country.
Yeah.
We need peace, and without security there will not be development. We cannot continue to fight unnecessary wars. What are the aims? What are they looking for? You want to Islamize Nigeria, you want Sharia implemented. Nigeria is a secular state. I think they should be
some states in the north have operated Sharia.
Exactly, and without any
even
problem.
When a lot of people felt that it was against the spirit of the constitution, the federal government
I was a director in Zamfara. I have not seen anywhere most of these problems don't. It was Zamfara state that started Sharia.
Yeah.
And we have not seen, the former president, like him, hate him, the way he handled that matter, ignore them. Let them go ahead with their Sharia. Nigeria is a secular state. You have Catholic churches, you have other Pentecostal churches in Zamfara, and they don't fight this.
Even in old Guzo, Oh, the old town called Guzo. You have churches. When I went there, when they had their first conviction,
we should be appealing to these people.
Yes.
In fact, when I was in Zamfara, I had to invite the governor for the harvest of our church, the Catholic Church, and he sent somebody to represent it. Go to Israel, go to Saudi Arabia, all this. You go to Dubai, you worship in the Catholic Church. So why should we be splitting our head over this? I want to appeal to Boko Haram.
Is the attack on churches then aimed at just provoking some other people to also join launching their own attacks, and then you have now so many people fighting?
Complete breakdown of law and order, making the country ungovernable for whatever reason. So we should appeal to you. We serve one God. Everybody believes Islam is the religion of peace. There's no way it say that you should go and kill people, just like Christianity. We should coexist in the interest of this country.
Major Morgan,
yes.
You looking at what you said in sharing your words with us now, you have drawn attention to two critical areas you think that the Nigerian government or the Nigerian security agencies will need to pay greater attention in the efforts to win this war. You have talked about intelligence gathering, and you've talked about IED training. Let's take the last one first, which is the training. And we have raised the critical question here of who are we really training?
Yes.
Are you training a terrorist in the gap of a security agent?
Yeah.
And all of that.
Yeah.
And then you talked about the need to vet the Nigerian security personnel first.
Absolutely.
Before you then begin to talk about that.
Well, I mean, we're looking at what we can do now to help, solve the problem. I love solutions. Okay, politics can take care of itself, but I like solutions. So, what do we do as security personnel? The Army, the police, the Air Force, the Navy, and all the rest of them. How do we... I think that the first thing we need to do first inside of our family as a security agencies is to do the vetting process. We don't know who we're training. We don't know, like I said, if we're training the Boko Haram sympathizer. We don't know who. So before we start any kind of training, we need to do a vetting process. Nigeria should have a nationwide program to screen and revalidate every Nigerian security personnel already in service. That is first thing I think we should do. Most of these Boko Haram people are getting their information from the inside. They get some information from the police, from the army, they get information from everywhere. So if we can weed out the bad apple in our security family, the public does not trust the security people
enough.
So
because of element of trust.
Because there's So if we vet the process and then get trusted people. Now I talked about how you do the vetting process, but I think if we can weed out the bad apple and leave the good people on the inside, we can now begin to rebuild. We don't want to be throwing money at the problem because it's like pouring water into the basket. It keeps leaking. If we are giving them information, then what is it? What are we doing? How do we solve this problem? So we start with the vetting process, make sure we have credible people working for the people.
How do we do the vetting?
Well, because there's certain things I want to...
security implications.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Don't talk about it.
Thank you. Yes, it does.
It has security.
Yes, it has to. Yeah.
Okay, don't talk about it. Yeah. But it has made a valid point there. Because we've had occasions in the past when even our security chiefs have come to tell us, even before Boko Haram came, we've had instances in the past when our security agencies have told us that we have recruited armed robbers into the police. I've had some inspector generals in the past tell us Nigerians that we have situations where we have, in our recruitment drive, we have ended up recruiting armed robbers into the police. So you send them to police training college, they master the way of the police, and then they leave. They go and use whatever training you have given them to come and fight you.
Vetting actually is very, very important. But we are talking of vetting and training in Nigeria. Do we have the capacity for training in terms of funding? That is one.
What do you mean don't have capacity?
Money.
The schools don't exist.
Fund. No. It's not just that.
The fund.
Yeah,
in an oil producing nation where I just told you that to produce something that the Attorney General of the Federation has already done since, some ministries are also already getting budgetary approval for it. The Office of the Head of Service alone has 80 million for that purpose.
Let me come in now.
We have the money, but
in the state security service, for instance, there is no way you can be recruited without vetting. And vetting entails a whole person concept. From when you entered primary school, I've been involved in recruitment. From when you were born, when you entered primary school, the secondary schools, you're antecedent in the schools before, at the end of it, we've weeded out a lot of people. I tell you, like in the service, like most other services, you don't recruit people more than 30 years. Some people go and swear to an affidavit. They are 25. But by the time you carry out the vetting, you discover that the person is 35 or so. So you are disqualified. The next thing is, I don't have somebody. That's not true. That is in place. And I want to encourage all the other agencies to use this process to weed out a lot. It's very simple. Other agencies too employ the services of the state security service for vetting of their personnel.
Including the police?
No, definitely not.
Exactly, because the attention here
now you also have what we call continuous vetting process. Continuous vetting process.
Yeah, because along the line somebody may have been recruited. Somebody may after recruitment may become indoctrinated.
Exactly. You have so that's why I agree with him. It's a process that we should imbibe and look at very critically to weed out the bad elements. Well, in terms of training, I think the agencies have the facilities for training. I can tell you, they have schools, they have some of them degree awarding, but the fund is very. I continue to stress on the need for fund because, in fact, it is now that the government is taking security very seriously. From 1999, I did a walk 2003 to 2007. You need to look at the budget
for security.
Yeah,
we didn't have much security challenges then.
We had. The security challenges have been there. You remember that in 1980 we had the same problem of Maitasine.
Okay.
That was crushed in 1980 under a civilian. No, it was before these other. Most of them under. But you know, with the military, it is easier to manage security than in the democracy, because you must observe the rule of law. You must observe the best practices. If many people are, like bombs are exploding, people are dying, buildings are going, properties destroyed, people are not talking.
Yeah. But there are many institutions of democracy that you need to form in a democracy.
What is the origin of Boko Haram? That their grievances, their grouse, one of their grievances was that their leader was killed extrajudicially. Who accounts for all these people who are being killed every day? Are they not Nigerians? So if you go outside the best practices to enforce the law, people will still cry. Civil societies will come out to say, well, this is a democracy, you are doing this human rights abuse and all the rest of them. So we are in I sympathize with the security agencies, because the more they are doing, people ask me, how come you have left the service, you are looking fresh? The stress of office, trying to maintain security in the country is not easy. Most of them don't sleep, and people don't appreciate this. So the security
I'm sure we do now.
Security is everybody's responsibility. The challenges are for all. Everybody should be involved. We should not just leave this to security agencies. It's very, very important to make this point.
Major, yes, you have been trying to intervene.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
There is the issue of funding. How much does it take to really do this training?
It's not just the issue of funding. Let's get back to, because there's a very important topic we're missing. What I'm learning is here in Nigeria, every time you say we need to do this, people say, well, we already have it. We already have some of these things, but my idea of coming into Nigeria to help is coming in to make it more effective and more efficient. That is, as far as the system is already there. We have a vetting process, we have intelligence gathering, but how efficient are these things?
Are they working?
Are they working to the max? Because we cannot leave it half-half. It has to work to the best of its ability. So that is where my concern is, and that's what I want us to focus on in terms of solution. So if we have a vetting process, we need to make it very efficient and make sure that it works very well. We've done a great job so far, but there's a lot more work to be done. So when you talk about money not being available, we have the money. The money is not the issue, because these things that I'm proposing are cost-cutting ways to preventive measures. Intelligence gathering, if we do it very well, wouldn't take that very much money. But again, it has to be effective and efficient. The reason that what we do is we throw money at things, and sometimes we don't have the right people in the system to make it work. Again, we have the system there, but we have to be more effective and efficient. So the money is available. The money is there. The money has to be there, because people are dying every day. We're talking about the people we are called to serve. The people on the streets. They're dying every day. And we cannot sit here and say that, oh, this is the reason why we cannot protect our people. We must have the money. We must make it available, and we must make it work for the people.
Well, we can't give the entire resources of the nation to just one item. I agree that it's only when you have security that you then talk about all the other things, education, health, and all of that. In the atmosphere of this security, for example, you can't be talking of people going to school.
Yes.
You can't be talking of one hospital not being funded and all of that. Agreed to all of them. We say yes to all of this. Yes, but then we can't give everything we have to security. So we need to get practical. Are there other practical things we can do? Is there a way ordinary Nigerians, or even the companies that need to operate in an atmosphere of security, is there a way they can contribute to all of these? Yes. Is there a way states, local governments, private individuals can also contribute?
Exactly.
Something similar to what Lagos State is doing, security.
In fact, that's where I was coming to, because we don't rely on government for everything in terms of security.
Absolutely.
We need private partnership. We need to get the governors. I think it was Governor Babangida Aliyu of Niger suggested some time ago that the governors should come together and have what we call security consolidated fund, like what is going on in Lagos. The security situation in Lagos is improving because of private partnership.
Yes, you have state government can now invest in buying helicopters for area surveillance.
Absolutely. Besides that, we need discipline. We are Nigerians, including me, we are very indisciplined set of people. We need to change our attitude to governance, providing good governance. One, there's corruption. We all agree there's corruption. Monies frittered away would have been invested in security. But you have inflated contracts, nobody's talking about it. Look at what is going on in National Assembly. The fuel subsidy, the investigation going on. You see, there's a lot of corruption, and I'm sure the government is trying to handle. Now, we need to adapt solutions to our own environment. Like one of my friends used to say, it's chameleon theory, Max Baniti. He says it's a chameleon theory. I said, what do you mean by chameleon theory? He said, you see, a situation you get results from in US, You might try it in Nigeria and it doesn't work.
And the boomerangs.
Because if you come to an area, the chameleon adapts to the color of the environment.
Absolutely.
So we should try own local solutions to the problems.
Absolutely.
You look at the issue of the Amaji race. We need some psychological operation, educating the people on the need for them to love their country, build confidence, talk of patriotism. And I've also advocated the localization of the police.
Yep.
What does that mean?
We don't have to look at money every time.
Yeah.
Localization of the police. You see, the Constitution will not allow us for state police. So I suggested
because
to the police.
We make it so. Didn't we say we the people make the Constitution?
No, the issue I'm talking about on localization of police is a situation where and I must use this opportunity to appreciate the Inspector General of Police. He has been under pressure. I've been reading in the papers for him to reintroduce roadblocks.
I know.
They are not working.
They're not working.
And government is appreciative of the fact that the Inspector General has stood his ground that these roadblocks should not come back. And I'm in support of that. So talking for localization of police, it was Babangida who once tried it, and in the 80s. Send the rank and file of the police back to their state of origin. We're still operating the central police force. Send them back to their state of origin. Why the commanders, the senior officers, should mount strategic position and be giving directives. By so doing, you have people who would not have confidence in their own environment. I take an example. Somebody from Bayelsa State or Delta, Patani, for instance, you post the person to Borno State. They carry somebody from Borno State to River State. Person has not seen water before, and is going in canoe for 6 hours in water.
On the sea.
The fear alone will even disorient him. So we need to localize our police since the construction.
That has to dovetail into our recruitment process, because at the end of the day, you may find that if you do what you are suggesting, you may find in some communities very few indigenes of that community.
It doesn't matter. You can see posts within the zone. If people are, you let them work in their particular zones
that they are familiar with.
They are familiar with. So I think those are the areas we should also be looking at. Then we have a lot of retired officers who are still very active.
Like you.
He's a major.
You.
Now, we have a lot of retired persons. Get them involved. Let them have a sense of belonging. I'm in fact proposing to government, if they will accept it, what we call, is operated in the U.S., we'll call retired neighborhood watch. Get everybody involved to assist the former security agencies to work. So it's not money every time, but at the same time, we need to adequately fund our security agencies.
Let me add to what he just said, because we're talking about...
and then explicit on the concept of fusion center.
Yes, I talked about the fusion center, and that goes into what he just said. So let's continue on the theme of solution because I don't want to veer. What he's just suggesting, let me add to it, is let's introduce what we call in the U.S. a fusion center. And a fusion center is an effective and efficient mechanism to exchange information and intelligence, maximize the resources that we have, then streamline operations and improve the ability to fight crime and terrorism by analyzing data from a variety of sources, which you just mentioned. Once we establish the fusion center and have them in these 6 geopolitical zones, all these things you just mentioned, all these people you just talked about, let them be housed in the fusion centers. But they have to be trained very well on intelligence gathering, because everything you just mentioned is part of intelligence gathering.
Also.
So we have to have a local community involved. If we do not build a bridge with the public, it's never going to work. We can say, oh, we already have a fusion center, but how effective and efficient is it? So exactly what you just mentioned, if we cannot localize the police the way the Constitution allows, let's just use the fusion center, get the people, put them where they belong in the area where they live, send the police there, mix it up, the police, the army, whatever, and have a collective, let them come under that house. We train them very well, equip that fusion center very well with the latest technology in intelligence gathering. Then we can now start they can now start working with the public in building trust, so that once they get information, that information is passed to the SSS, and then information from the top comes down. In other words, there will be a two-way, it will be very effective, yes. So what you're suggesting is absolutely great. So fusion centers be established.
Yeah, you see, the problem I have with the fusion center.
Yes.
Is, like I said before, what works perfectly well in the U.S. might not work here. We should not shy away from it. We have this interagency rivalry.
And that's the problem.
That is even being played down now, because all the agencies are collaborating, at least at the top level.
Yes.
But it should go down.
Yes.
So if you establish a fusion center where information is passed from top to bottom,
yes,
from bottom to top,
yes,
you should bear in mind,
yes,
that there's no electricity.
Absolutely, and
to even pass the message.
So what is the problem in Nigeria? Is absolutely nothing. It doesn't exist.
Yes.
Where you are coming from.
Well, again,
power is not a problem.
It's not a problem. But let me talk about because a lot of people have said the same thing. What works in the U.S. can work here. It can work here. We can make it work. I always believe in positivity. I know we can make it work. I'm here now. If there's no electricity, we will find a way to have electricity for the security of the nation. It is not impossible to make it possible so that all our security apparatus has constant electricity to pass information up. And if we want to fight Boko Haram, they are professionals. They're not waiting for us to, get set up. They're not going to wait for us to get set up. We have to make it work. We must have to make it work.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Of course, we can.
And we will.
We can.
We will.
Thank you, brother. Let's just leave it there.
Absolutely.
Yes, we can. Yes, we will.
We will.
Thank you very much. For the past 55 minutes or so, we've been discussing national security, and I've been joined in these discussions by Barrister Mike Ejiofor. Mike is a former director with the State Security Services, but he is a lawyer now. Thank you so very much, Mike. I appreciate your time. And of course, Major Chris Mogalu. He's a Nigerian who had just been decommissioned.
Yes. Well, I've left the military in the U.S. Army. I'm back fully. I'm back fully waiting to work with the federal government in any capacity to get this solution resolved. I mean, I'm here to work. I mean, I've devoted my time to fighting in the U.S. I've put my life on the line there. So I can put my life on the line for my country, Nigeria, which I love very much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
All right. I hope all the security chiefs are hearing him. Please, we need all hands to be on deck.
Absolutely. Ahoy.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you
for investing your time with us this morning. We look forward to having you with us same time tomorrow. But then do stay out of trouble. We also pray that trouble will not find you, so that we can meet tomorrow. My name is Benga Aruleva.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
Budgeting. Questions such as, do we need an NNPC in the first place, must be asked. My view, we don't.
He is the field officer. He has the responsibility to ensure all operations regarding arrest and all that is conducted in the usual manner.
Engage in emerging topical issues in the polity.
The mere fact that we pay for 24 million liters of petrol on a daily basis, which is shocking. And I think by now people should be resigning their appointment.
It's supposed to be a business, but it has become another arm of government, and it's also suffering from the malaise that have beset government in Nigeria.
We want a good Nigeria first.
People that are benefiting at the IOC. Why? Because they have a tax regime, a royalty regime that was framed over 42 years ago.
So West Morocco. Surely.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kakaki,
the African voice.
Now listen. The law is now beyond argument that the effect of the nullification of a thing, not necessarily an election, the effect of nullification of a thing is to completely wipe out, obliterate, remove, undo, erase, or render it ineffective.
Why must Nigerians pay the crime that has been perpetrated by the cabal?
The Bisi Olakino Show, VOS International.
I think the congregation tonight should be a period for celebration of the incoming, the end of the legal year, the beginning of the legal year, but a period also for sober reflection.
We have signed into law several legislations whose implementation will help us provide the service delivery that you expect of us and raise the standard of life.
The Bisi Olakino Show, VOS International.
I'll give you all the finest things in life. You are the angel of my life, the love of my life. I love my baby, that's my baby. I will treat my baby right.
Viewers all over the world have made the Bisi Olakino Show, VOS International, the first choice on their TV dials every week. The Bisi Olakino Show, VOS International.
Time out with TA. It's also a party.
Look, see, I know they got no longer, so I want friendship way longer. With me today, tomorrow, I will be stronger.
Time out with TA. It's the variety comedy show everyone is talking about. Catch your favorite celebrities on Wine with TA. It's refreshing, revealing, and ridiculously hilarious.
Stay with me, dear woman, cause you love me, I will be your...
Time out with TA.
The new month of the new year usually comes with a lot of challenges for so many people. Nigerians are not left behind.
Get the most current updates and business around the globe on The Money Show.
If you look at Nigeria and our people, a lot of people actually plan for the year from January up to December.
He said, "Let there be light," and the word was illuminated. He spoke through his prophets. Believe the word of God, and ye shall be established. Believe his prophets, and you shall prosper. We still have the prophets. Here comes another moment of prophetic declarations, the word from the divine throne. Destiny encounter. Be blessed as you walk.
It's a beautiful day, a day of glory, in another moment to encounter the Almighty. Welcome to Destiny Encounter. I am Pastor Peter.
We have more in part 1 of Turning Point's exclusive report, Behind the Mask.
So many girls commit suicide in this stage because of their loneliness, their emptiness.
But come rain or shine, you'll find prostitutes on sidewalks.
Hello and welcome to Turning Point.
Independent Television.
AIT, sharing the African.
Welcome to the program. This is the Money Show. Thank you for joining us again today. I am Nancy Lo. Today we have a full package for you. On Wednesday, the House Committee on Capital Market continued the probe on what led to the near collapse of the capital market. Of course, the ad hoc committee is led by Honorable Ibrahim El Sudi. We will bring you excerpts from that hearing yesterday, and when we come back, I will be speaking with Sasoni Wosu. He is the National Coordinator of Independent Shareholders Association of Nigeria. He made a presentation yesterday. I will be asking him what he thinks about this probe that is on right now, and what he actually thinks about the near collapse of the Nigerian capital markets. Let's quickly take this excerpt and I'll be back.
Afribank accessed a total of 3.9 trillion from the Central Bank of Nigeria, SLF, and the expanded discount window to the tune of, again, 3.9 billion. 3.9 billion. 3.9 trillion. Finbank borrowed a total of 194 billion from the Central Bank Standing Lending Facility and EW facilities, EDW, that's the expanded discount window. Union Bank had interbank takings of 108 billion and accessed a total of 291 billion and 1.05 trillion, respectively, through the Central Bank expanded discount window and the Standing Lending Facility between October 2008 and July 2009. Honorable members, if this is not something that calls for lender of last resort intervention, I don't know what on earth would call for lender of last resort intervention. So I have given you this, and I'll give you more details about the state of the banks. I have not yet discussed, and let me actually show very clearly how the management of these banks contributed to the problems in the stock market, how precisely the stock market was being manipulated, because that's what we're here to discuss.
It's very impressive to have your report card written by yourself. Whoever writes a report card for himself will never score himself as somebody who has failed. It's also your function to have periodic investigation of the status of these banks. You agree? Fine. All right. And the picture you have painted, this horrific picture that you have painted of all of these banks, didn't happen in one day. Fine. If they didn't happen in one day, and you also have the mandate to look at the books almost every 6 months, regularly. So, all of these things, they came to this sorry path under your watch. It happened because, it happened because you did not do your job. That's the meaning. If you did all of those due diligence over that period of time, these banks will come to this sorry path.
Well, let me agree with you. We have said it here that in this my presentation, it is included that the regulators did not take all the macroprudential and other steps that they should have taken. So we, first of all, accept blame as an institution, not as individuals. To be clear, for the record, I joined the central bank in November 2009. The current governor was appointed in June 2009. Let the record be clear. However, as an institution, as an institution, yes, that's right.
So whether you join CBN today, it is CBN you are representing. We are talking of CBN.
The reserves of the Federal Republic of Nigeria have 3 components. One part of the reserves, and this is a legal matter under the CBN Act, one part of the reserves belongs to the federal government of Nigeria, one part belongs to the Federation, and one part belongs to the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria's share, I believe, is about maybe 70%, or yes, about that, yeah. And the remaining is divided between the federal government and the Federation. So that's how the reserves are managed, and it is from those reserves that the central bank manages the foreign exchange market in this country in order to perform one of its 5 core functions, which is to manage the international reserves that support the value of the legal tender currency of this country. And as you know, the foreign exchange in this country, the central bank plays an important role by funding the WDAC foreign exchange market. And a lot of that comes from the reserves. And that's what we have to do to keep the currency stable and to provide foreign exchange to individuals and commercial entities that need it.
The MD of AMCOM, and I believe that ultimately a presentation from AMCOM is very important. This is not a knee-jerk thing. You can't just stroll in and then feel that you can just talk to us and walk away like that. And on behalf of the chairman, I believe that we will demand a presentation from you in formal form. That's number 1. Number 2, my 3 questions. When you were appointed, what did you find on the ground? What were you appointed to fix? That's number 1. Number 2, where is AMCON headed today? Number 3, what do we judge AMCON by in another 2 years? 1,
I apologize to the honorable member about the presentation. I received this letter this morning, and I came with this letter this morning. I received this letter requesting this information this morning. It will have been physically impossible for me to respond with a presentation having received the letter this morning. It's dated 30th April, and as we all know, yesterday was a holiday. So I apologize. I will have the presentation ready for you as soon as possible, referring to this letter. Secondly, I just want to point out that AMCON has 190 employees. With 190 employees, we have issued more bonds than the debt management office has issued many employees. We have the largest number of assets of any bank in Nigeria, and those banks have employees in the thousands. We are aware that we're a self-liquidating institution, and we must work very lean, because as time goes by, AMCON should get smaller and smaller. And the last thing we wanted to do was to create a mammoth government organization that will have problems liquidating as time goes by. So I'm answering you directly. I do not have special assistants that will write presentations for me at the drop of a hat, as other organizations have. So I will go back and I will work on this, and I'll get it to you as soon as possible. But I did receive it today, so I apologize for no presentation. To answer your questions, what was AMCON appointed to fix? AMCON was created basically because the size of the financial problem was unprecedented. In the United States of America, in the last 3 years, they have closed down 900 banks. Liquidated 900 banks, depositors got their minimum guaranteed investment, and the shareholders lost everything. But America is so big that 900 banks doesn't ripple the economic fabric. In Nigeria, the 8 banks that we had represented close to 30% of banking assets. It was such a big problem. It was not susceptible to all the fixes we've just discussed here. NDIC doesn't have the capital to assume these banks and manage them. The amount of money we put in Bank PHB, which became Keystone Bank, was about 300 billion naira. NDIC could not capitalize Bank PHB, and the only alternative was to liquidate Bank PHB. If I just pick Bank PHB, if that bank had been liquidated, it had about 500 billion in deposits. Of those deposits, about 300 billion were public sector deposits. That means that public institutions in Nigeria would have lost 300 billion naira immediately. It's not just private individual depositors. Many of these deposits we're talking about are public sector deposits, which comes back to the government.
Okay, that was just some beats that we had to show you. It was an 8-hour session. The morning show was there from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. yesterday. So I will be giving you slices and slices of that hearing in subsequent editions. But of course, as it concerns the capital market probe, we are keeping our eyes on that, and that's what we're discussing this morning. Of course, the program is in 2 parts today. So I'm taking Sonny Wosu right now, the National Coordinator of Independent Shareholders Association of Nigeria, is joining me right now. ISAN, I think, is one of the key shareholders association in Nigeria, and he was there yesterday. Welcome to you.
Thank you very much,
and good to see you after a very long time.
Thank you very much, Nancy.
Let me start by asking you, what is your interpretation of yesterday's hearing?
Well, my very clear interpretation is that, it's a theoretical exercise which has nothing to do with the practical aspect, of the whole problem. You can see that people were prepared, presenting papers, doing all this. For us, we want a practical aspect of it that will transform and restore confidence to the market.
What is the practical aspect that you're expecting?
Now, the practical aspect we're expecting is to look at actions taken by regulators who turn to operators. There are regulators that, of course, left the regulatory framework of the oversight function and become operators.
Can you give me examples of what you're saying?
No, I'm referring to SEC.
Okay.
I'm referring to Central Bank. These are the 2 principal organs that brought down the capital market through their actions.
Now, what actions specifically? Because You've been in the market for a very long time.
Sure.
I've been reporting the market, and I still do. We know what happened. Would you say that you can absolve yourself or your institution, or which you represent, for example, the shareholders, or can shareholders actually say, absolve themselves of the blame, so to speak, prior to the market collapse?
I will show you
hold
the
on.
actions.
Yeah. Just hold on, let me land.
Yeah.
What I mean is, prior to 2008, when the capital market started falling, some shareholders associations, including you, we could go about, you were going about, okay, the Nigerian capital market is healthy, it's rosy, coming, and all of that. So why are you blaming the central bank and SEC, for example, for coming in and saying, okay, we need to resuscitate the market that is falling?
Well, number one is that we absolve ourselves of certain blames because we took a lot of actions to checkmate the overbearing actions of the regulators in the market. And I don't mince words in saying that the regulators are theoretical masters. When it comes to practical things, you will not find them there. Now, I'll give you an example. During the second segment of banking licensing in this country, most of those that came out to manage these banks were from central bank. And all the banks failed woefully. And that's to show you there's a difference between theory and practical. That's just one. Now, when the whole thing started falling, we made an effort. We had 2 seminars. One of the seminars was titled Share Buyback, How Desirable. And it was well covered by AIT at that time. And we saw that we were having over-bloated equity in place in the market, which then means that for an emerging market, do we have the capacity to absorb all these billions of equity that is coming? And my understanding of the capital market is that it is a demand and supply. Okay, fine. That then means if we have more than necessary in the marketplace, the tendencies of the price dropping will be there. And if we have few that people are scrambling for, the price will move up. And that's the way stock exchange all over runs. And that seminar, we brought in facilitators from the 6th continent of the world. And you know what 6th continent means. We want to have Indian experience. We want to have England experience. We want to have US experience. We want to have African experience, and so on and so forth. And we also had people from Nigeria who came and delivered paper. And the communique was delivered to Federal Ministry of Finance because they were also represented at the seminar. It was at that occasion that the idea of market maker, the idea of buying back shares, was approved by the seminar. And we passed this. And Ministry of Finance immediately started action on it because a committee was set up on share buyback, which was dissolved later without allowing them to do the job. So that is one aspect of our contribution to ensure that the market, whereby we have people that have actually put in their retirement benefit in the place, could enjoy the benefit of their investment. So the second aspect was a seminar which was also conducted by ISAN, where we say, who regulates the regulators? Because the regulators were behaving like...
But we don't have that system here. If you're talking about who regulates the regulator, what comes to my mind is probably the FSA of the UK, for example. Who regulates central bank? Who regulates SEC?
No, just
SEC,
a minute.
Okay.
Just a minute. Who regulates the regulators is the stakeholders.
Who are the stakeholders now?
We are shareholders, because we look at what is going on. From our opinion, the regulators will then know whether
Would you call that regulation? Would it be nice for you to say it's regulation? Or because you are not bound by law, for example? Shareholders...
We are not bound by law, but the opinion goes a very long way to mold the position of the regulators to understand those they are expected to regulate. This is the opinion coming from them. It was a well-celebrated seminar, in Lagos. Thereafter, when we saw the handwriting of some companies, I have a clear position of the actions which...
Can I see that?
Yeah, you will. The actions we have taken to show concern about what was happening in the market. Number three, it's very important for us to understand that the issue of banking, capital market are not meant for pages of newspapers. So, if you look at that, we took up AP issue, whereby we sued the stock exchange as a party, we sued AP as a company, we sued the directors of AP, we sued Aliko Dangote because of the falsification that affected AP at that time. And we felt that a shareholder group must get up to protect other shareholders.
Now, would you say that your shareholder association, so to speak the minds of other shareholders?
Yes, of majority.
Because you people should not, some people have said that you should also blame yourselves in terms of shareholders association. What is the percentage or ratio of shareholders that you do represent? Because at the end of the day, some people have clamored that you represent your interest, so to speak, that some shareholders association had romance with most of the CEOs that have been charged for fraud and bringing down the banks.
Good.
So how do you absolve yourself of that blame?
Good. Yes, it's very easy for anybody to say anything. Nancy, today you are my friend, and let me tell you, if you run into trouble tomorrow, until it is established by a lawful court that happens, I will stand by you. I will not leave you to go, because you still need a moral support to stand the judicial proceedings that you are going through. So I have no regret standing by anybody among these people, because ab initio we were not enemies.
But do you agree ab initio probably most of those CEOs ran their banks down? With what we've seen.
No. You have not seen. You only had. Let me tell you, if we want to be very transparent on any action we are taking, these banks belong to people. There's a seed money there. Whatever action you are taking in that, you must prove to the shareholders as much possible as you can that something happened in this place. Not when you use the authority to say that a provision should be made. Heavy provision should be made, and in that provision, it doesn't really show that some of these provisions you have made are truly bad. But because you want to prove your case to people that you see what I'm saying, you made a provision. Less than 1 year after, you start reversing those provisions, return those provisions to the books, and then declare declare profit. It is fraudulent too on that aspect. So as far as I am concerned, the shareholders issue, it's a partnership. Fingers are not equal. Some passionate shareholders may have 10 shares, and as far as they are concerned, they will be projecting the future for such a company. Doesn't mean because you are having 1 billion shares and the man with 10 shares cannot talk. Definitely,
everybody is a shareholder.
A shareholder.
Even if I have one share.
Even let me tell you, in most cases, the poor man that suffered to make the money which he used in buying 10 shares will be more passionate on that investment than the man who you cannot attest to the mode of his money, the way he made his money in buying 1 billion shares. I mean, things are coming up. We are seeing that the shareholding structure or the capital market is being damaged by the so-called big boys. When I started playing in capital market 43 years ago, we rejoice when you have 1 kobo, 2 kobo appreciation on your shares. Because we are not looking, we are actually looking towards our retirement, when we will be able to use our investment to better our lives and train our children. So it's not the issue that we are seeing now. Somebody is having 1 billion shares in a company. How did he come about the money? And all this and that. So I don't care about those things. But what is more important